Bundy Bears Shed. Well, what's been going on? First up, the weather report. Look, it's been about 30 degrees. That's a nice temperature for working. The nights have only been getting down to about 20 that's degrees Celsius, and the days 30. So it's cooled down a little bit over the last few days. Still dry, haven't had any rain, but they're saying this afternoon we should be having storms, and they're saying possibly up to an inch a day over the next week, but we'll see. Yeah, bloody, you never know. The closer the days get, the more the rain seems to dry away. So we're quite dry, so we haven't mowed the lawns or anything like that at the moment. We just kill it. So outside it's looking a bit scraggy, but that's all right. When it rains, we'll have a big tidy up and clean everything up, and it's given me a bit of time to work in the shed and mainly do the ute canopy. I've got a little aeroplane flying overhead, so a little bit of air traffic buzzing along. Bet he's having a nice time up there, not a care in the world. And but look, what I've done this week, all I've done is work on the canopy, on our new camper part of the canopy. The piece on the back that's a little bit over 6 foot long, 6 foot wide, aluminium box that we got made. And I've been wiring it and doing the power boards, and I've taken a couple of little clips on what I've done, and where the main power board is up the top, the switches, by the time you get a flat switch panel, and the wiring and the switches sit behind it about 2 inches, so the pieces sticking out on the ute on the toolbox are 40mm, so I've made some boxes to stick out, so we've got plenty of clearance for our wiring. We haven't got anything rubbing, and look, that's coming along nicely. I've went to town the other day and bought a little bit of carpet, you know, the grey marine carpet, and we put that on to the toolbox with a glue that they use for imitation grass, for fake grass. But look, I have been using a Dunlop glue, and anyway, the other day I just picked up a different brand, and I thought, oh well, see what that's like. Well, I wish I was using it all the time. The Dunlop glue is a bit like, probably a bit like contact cement. Yeah, you get it on a brush. You're supposed to trowel it on, but I use the cheap brushes. I buy a brush for 90 cents and brush it all on, and once I've finished for the day or a few hours, I chuck it in the bin and go and get another one. But the Dunlop brand is quite claggy, and it strings out and like bloody snot. Bloody terrible shit. But anyway, the new stuff, it brushes on beautifully. Look, I should have found it years ago. So anyway, we've been doing that. Got some carpet on, and you'll see a little bit of footage of that. And the wiring, I've spent quite a while on the wiring, and there's aluminium C-channel up on the roof for support, and we've run all the wiring internally, so it's all hidden away. I doubt that you'll see a wire on the whole thing. Oh, sorry, just kicked the bloody camera. You're right. At the back where we have lights for cooking and things like that, external lights, there's a little wire going to them which we can't help, but look, that's okay too. But yeah, look, that's all I've been doing the last couple of days, just solid on the camper and making boxes, and you know, I've made the boxes and the main head panel out of 1.2mm zinc, and look, it's coming up a treat. I'm quite happy with the look that we're getting. But yeah, it's just a long job, and I'm a bit fussy in that regard. So a couple of the pictures I've got of the wiring everywhere, well, in behind it, even when the wiring's in behind it, I usually zippy it all up and tidy it up nicely. So, but at this stage, sometimes you've got to put stuff on and take it off to put something else on. So at this stage, it's no use in cable tying it all up neatly as yet, but it'll happen. I like to be able to go away and not worry about anything else going wrong. Just sit there, drink beer, and dream about catching big fish and all that sort of stuff. You know, have a bit of a cook up and yeah, pretend we know what we're doing. If you didn't know us, you'd reckon we were onto this game. But anyway, we'll just puddle along. Well, last week watching Amateur Redneck Workshop, and Harold made a little comment about the Circlip. Apparently one of my videos I said something about a circlip or a snap ring or something like that. And he was surprised that we all called it the same thing, because in our world of YouTube, one item can be called many different things, and you know, in Australia we might call it an E-clip, and in America it might be called a C-clip, and probably in England, the Aussies, because of our criminal background, getting assisted passage out from England in the early days, a lot of us were, well, a lot of our ways in Australia are based on the English, as in, you know, driving on the left-hand side of the road, the metric system. We didn't take on pounds, shillings and pence. We did early in the piece, but 1966 we went to dollars and cents, which is a sensible thing. So, but yeah, it's all come from there. So I've just done up a little bit of a picky on the whiteboard here, and we'll just have a bit of a chat about that. I found it just interesting. Harold must have found it a bit interesting, and it's not the technical all being of circlips or things like that. It's just a little chat about, well, what I call them over in Australia here, and there's a couple of things about them that a lot of people don't know, and I'll just run past them, you know, cover them quickly, and yeah, it's just a little bit of interest. So, you know, stay tuned. I'll get the camera all set up over on the whiteboard, and I'll pretend I know something. All right, hang on a sec. Well, here we are with our circlips, snap rings, E-clips, C-clips, Jesus clips, and it's mainly about just how to use circlips and things like that. And look, in Australia, and I'd be interested to know what everyone else calls things. This fella here is a circlip. We call them a circlip. That's an external circlip. The shaft goes inside here. You expand these 2 points out, and when you expand them out, it gives you shaft clearance. Now, an interesting thing with these is if you have a 5/8 shaft and you want a circlip to put on a 5/8 shaft with a circlip groove in it, you don't actually measure the bottom of the groove normally. If you order a 5/8 circlip, external circlip, well, that will have the clearance already in it for the correct tension of the circlip. So if you're ordering that one, you just go and order a 5/8 external circlip, and when you measure it, it might be, oh, like it'll be under 9/16 or something like that, depending on how big it is, or 1/2 inch. But when you expand it out, it has the right amount of tension. So when you order an external circlip, for a 5/8 shaft or a 1-inch shaft, you would order a 5/8 or a 1-inch, and it'll have the automatic spring tension built in. You haven't got to measure in the groove. This fella here is an internal circlip. Now, on the internal circlip, it would normally go like inside a pulley to hold the bearing in place. So, but we still call those 2 circlips. This little fella here, we call them E-clips. I've also heard them and seen them in Australia called C-clips. And working in workshops for years, I've heard them called Jesus clips. They just ping off and go, ah, Jesus. So they're Jesus clips too. Now, we call this fella here a snap ring. Now, a snap ring is a shaft with no eyes like this in the end of it. It normally goes outside as an external measure on the outside to hold a bearing or something in, but look, I have seen them the other way around. When they're the other way around, instead of the point going this way, the point would then come this way. So you had something to get your snap ring pliers on, or something to get under it. And John Deere did that in a couple of cases, and they were just bastards to get out. One point would be like on the 3350 John Deere in the high-low, on the front shaft. They had one there that held a needle bearing and a seal and that in, and they were just a bastard to get off. Sometimes I found if you just got them a bit hot there and give that a flick, you'd collapse it and just put a new one in. But on the snap ring doesn't have a flat point on it. it always has a taper. Like if you laid the snap ring down sideways, there would be a point on it. Now, these here are snap ring pliers, and being a snap ring plier, I'm just trying to see if I can get into frame there with a little cross grid on it. Well, these ones are quite worn. Look at the slop in there. I need to chuck them away, really. Every job I do, I think, those bastard things, they're going. And I'm too scabby to throw them out because I haven't bought the new ones yet. And so, but anyway, yeah, they come in, and normally they would come down this way and grab the circlip, grab the snap ring, open him up, and you would lift him off. And so there's a correct way to put those in, and normally if you're trying to hold a bearing in down here and you had a shaft, well, whichever way you'd like to go, your snap rings can pick that up. If you put the bearing up here, there's nowhere for your snap ring pliers to come in. Because when you come in to grab the item, you come in here, and because you can't actually get to those points because they're right up against the bearing, you have a bugger of a time, they actually slide off all the time. And sometimes you come across jobs where people have put them in back to front and they are just a pain in the bum to get them off. So always, when you put them on, have a look and just see which way that point is, and put them so the load, so you can always bring your pliers down in and grab it. Now, with the internal circlip pliers or external circlip pliers, doesn't matter which ones, both of them have a flat, and if you ever pick up a circlip, have a look, you've got a very flat edge and then you've got a rounded edge. And look, that happens in the manufacturing process, but I believe it's built into it. Now, on pliers, you'll see the points there. Now, the points are fairly parallel. This is set up at the moment for going for doing an internal one. Now, this little set of Nipex here, they're for doing external. And you'll see the points on these, if I can get it where you can see it. They're parallel or even just a little bit fatter on the end here. And look, it's only a little bit if they are. And look, that wears over time and you end up with worn circlip pliers, and they're a bastard thing. Anyway, yeah, they need to be chucked out. And so with the shape of the circlip there, you'll notice that because of the point is parallel or just comes out just a little bit wider at the tip, the correct way to put them in is this way. You have a sharp tip here which will bite into your circlip and it won't want to shoot off. Now over time from use, these wear, and that little fat bit at the end there disappears and they become rounded, and they get a bit dangerous then, but and they fly everywhere. And look, when you're playing with circlips, put your bloody glasses on. It's just makes sense. They fly off on you. But so yeah, over time this little corner wears on them, and if you put the circlip in that way, you can still find a good bit of meat up the back here to grab onto. But if you have a bearing sitting here and this circlip's been put on the wrong way, and this gets a bit rounded with wear over the years, and you go in this way, well, you got no hope of getting that off. That's when they shoot off all the time, and they're a menace. So what normally happens is the load on a circlip goes on the round side, and you would have the circlip groove holding the circlip in on the sharp side. So when you have something running on it, it has a nice smooth burr-free surface, because when you look at just the ends, like looking at the end, pretending there's no back on it at the moment, it's like that. So you have two nice round surfaces here for the thrust. So if you had a shaft here with a wheel you wanted to put on it, well, this circlip here you'd have the round edge to the wheel, and the circlip would be that way. Now on this one, so it doesn't fall off, you would have the sharp edge outwards. So the thruster's that way, and the thrust presumably will be this way. But because you have a rotating wheel on a shaft, like on a lawnmower or something like that, well, you put the nice rounded edge to whatever's rubbing on it, a washer or something like that, and then you put the sharp edge to the circlip groove, so when the stress goes either left or right in this case, it pushes hard against the sharp edge of the circlip. And on these circlips too, in the manufacturing process, you'll notice that it's actually often there's just a little dimple there, and that's where they've punched them out, and that bites hard into the circlip groove right in here, right in this corner, and it's just relieved there ever so slightly, and over time that disappears and you end up with a nice flat surface here. But if you went to put this circlip in the groove like that, this is very exaggerated, well, you don't have that sharp edge. So with this sitting here, there's a chance of that rounded edge working over time and popping off. It's probably not going to happen, but there's just a right way and a wrong way to do it. So yeah, there's a bit more to circlips than meets the eye when you start looking at it. I thought, oh, I'll just show you what they are. Then you start looking at it and thinking about it, and you think, oh shit, I should tell them that. I should say this. I should do that. So now these little E-clips, or Jesus clips, there's a little tool to put them on. Look, you can just pop them on with pliers and flick them off with screwdrivers, and look, I do that a lot myself. But these are a couple of tools for putting them on. Now that one in particular, Brian Bock, he would understand about these ones. On the John Deere 4440s and 4055s and that, where the lever comes into your remote bank on the side, there's a heap of little E-clips hold them in, and this is a proper John Deere tool for putting them on. You can come in down the side of the shaft and just pop them inside there. So I should do that so you can see it. So shaft's here, and you just pop the clip on, and it's got a little detent in there, and it does actually hold the E-clip for you. And so yeah, you can pop the E-clip in there, then just poke it on, so it would go like that, and you just pop him onto the shaft. And there's a little orange one, a little red one I should say. I picked that up from an army surplus store, so the army must use them for something as well. You know, they had a couple of different sizes of the red one, so I have a few of them. So look, yeah, that's just a little bit about circlips, E-clips, snap rings. And look, I started off what we call them. Got a bit carried away. That's not hard. And yeah, I hope you got something out of it. But look, leave a message or a bit of a note on what you call them in your part of the world, and it might be an interesting little exercise. This weekend we're continuing with the camper. I've started cutting out the bits of insulation. That's marine foam. So we've started cutting that out. We've started doing the wiring. And if we come around onto here, I've made boxes up for switches. The switch panels are... Where are we? There we go. There's Kelly. Kelly pup, you helping? Bloody good helper. I'll have to fight her for that in a minute. Must be my time for a snooze. But yeah, these panels will go in. We had to build the boxes up to give us the depth for the things at the back of the panel. So having made all that up, we're coming up to the section where we make a bit of covering for it, and I've already cut a couple out. And that sits up there. We've got these holes we have to transfer into the top one yet. So we'll have to solder on and get all that done. So that's this afternoon's work. But don't you wish you could lick your leg like that? What a handy skill to have. But yeah, we'll solder on And I think this afternoon, going back to the camper, we should be able to get some of this stuff hopefully glued in, and we'll just see how we go. We are outside. I've finished the main power panel, so that one has 4 switches. We still have to tidy the wiring up a little bit in the back, but it's all done. It's all in the right place. We have 2 USBs there. Everything charges on USB nowadays. A normal 12 volt cigarette lighter plug and 4 switches. This one will do that light there, and these other ones will do the back lights, the lights outside. When we go across to the other side, this is the business end. Same panel as on the other side. USB, ciggy, and the 4 switches. This one here for the little light. The light's not showing up real well. Fuse box. We have on and off for the voltmeter. 15 amp circuit breaker. Get this fella out, get my hand out of the way. That's a lock-in cigarette lighter. More USBs, just in case we haven't got enough. And a 50 amp Anderson underneath. So that might do it for today. We'll hopefully in the morning I'll have time to put all that in. Set it all in and hook a plug up to the top. When we come back to the canopy, that's the Anderson plug. That's how the power goes in. That's a 50 amp Anderson. And that comes in there for that side. Then over the other side we have wires going down the Rio to the back, and you'll see a wire sticking out over there. That's for this other. We have another switch panel for the back if we want to run night lights while we're on camp or something like that. We'll have a couple of switches at the back so people can come and charge their gear. So there you go. That's what we're up to so far. Three, 2. Well, look, that's it for 1 week. There's a bit of footage on wiring, and I don't actually show you me wiring anything because I'm just showing you the end product, really, what I've been up to over the last few days. And we've had a little chat about Circlips and Circlip pliers and all that sort of thing. So, look, that's all we have for you for this week. I've got another few days on this canopy and the camping stuff yet before we get back into machining a few things. On the ute where the clamps go up the side of the toolbox to hold the sides on, at the moment I've just spaced them out with 2 nuts. So we have a little project coming up, and look, I don't know when, it's not an urgent job. I'll get everything else done first on making those little aluminium spacers. So that'll come along. The canopy bit that I showed you last week with the front toolbox, where we have the fridge set up and the batteries and all that, that's been running for a week now, and that's going good. Yeah, it's a pretty good setup. It seems to last a long time. I put the ute away in the shed for 4 days where the sun couldn't get onto the solar panel, just to see how the battery system was lasting. And well, look, it was in a carport, but there would have been a bit of light around it, but not direct sunlight. And look, I got a good 4 days out of the batteries before they needed any top up in any way. They were starting to get low. When you read the battery stuff, it says that, you know, a 12 volt battery, when it's charged, sits at a test with an electronic voltmeter, sits at about 12.7, 12.8 volts in there somewhere. And so look, mine went down quite quickly to 12.6, then every day it had dropped 0.1, and they say 0.4 is 60% left in your battery, but look, I sort of probably don't agree with that so much. But look, I still work the fridge well. Look, the fridges work way down to about 11 volts, 10.5 I think, the Engel one. And I reckon I would have a week in the fridge without charging it at all. I could pack it away in the shed, and I reckon I'd get a good week out of it. So anyway, we'll do a bit more testing with that. But look, I am happy with it. It's working well. we took the ute to work one day just to see how it worked in the sun with the new solar panel, and yeah, look, through the middle of the day it was sitting up on 14 volts and 13.8 and 14 and things like that. So that part's working very well. So we just need to build on and add to it and muck around and get the final job done. So once more, thanks for watching. Subscribe, share, do what you bloody like. Leave a comment, say g'day, and we'll catch you next week, eh?